work at your own pace. And if that works for you, if you believe that, that's fine. But remember that there are differences between adaptive and maladaptive perfectionism. If your perfectionism is causing you anxiety and stress, then I think it's a really good idea to create that deadline and force yourself to finish. You need a structure that forces you not to focus on the minutia of one project for too long. Number 4, focus on getting just a little bit better each time. If you improve 1% each time you make something, then over time that progress compounds, and before you know it, you've mastered whatever it is you're learning. Creating things, putting them out there, and having the imperfections and mistakes pointed out, these are all parts of the learning process that have to happen. Skill and knowledge come through countless iterations, not through executing perfectly on the first iteration. The skill that you gain through making the first 9 things will allow you to hone the 10th one to a degree you didn't even know was possible when you were making the first one. And lastly, let your influences inspire you, but don't measure yourself up against them. A beginner shouldn't measure their work against that of a master's. If you were to start a YouTube channel tomorrow and you put out your first video, you shouldn't compare it against somebody else's 500th video. That's not a fair comparison. The only thing you should measure your work against is your previous work. And when you're looking at things other people have made, you can let them inspire you.
Magic number 500 videos, bartender.
Don't hold your work up against theirs and judge yourself.
I think we passed that one.
So this is where I'm going to end this video. And to be honest,
this is our second channel, remember?
There's a lot more I'd like to say on this
the
topic.
First one was Hammer Roach.
And my brain keeps throwing up things people
the
are
Pimp
bringing
channel.
up comments, counter arguments.
They couldn't handle that one,
and I want to cover them all.
They said, no, that's just too much.
I just have to finish this and put it out there. Is it perfect? No.
It was too much ism, bartender.
And that is enough.
But you know they broke my heart with that one, because I mean that ism, that was a lot of motivation, man. Pimps up, bets down, pick up your crowd.
Hey there, guys.
Too much pimping, too much pimping.
Thanks so much for watching this video.
And you know you can't take it with you when you go, man. You just renting it, man. Nigga, use a hoe, man. Something just ain't right. Yeah, bartender, on this one we treating perfectionism. Karen and got out of control and she mad at herself because the whole world ain't perfect and there ain't no fairy tale, and whatever happened to Disneyland, TV set, the Cosbys, the All in the Family, that's my mama. Whatever happened to the TV set fairy tale? I mean, you know, and then we supposed to be living in Disneyland somewhere? You know what I mean? Ain't this America where you could dream the impossible dream? And then when she found out that, you know, ain't nobody living that shit, we all in reality. We all inmates, and this motherfucker in a trapped in a TV set, trying to break out and think for ourselves, have a relationship with God so we can meditate and downsize all this fairy tale disease. You know what I mean? She's still trying to keep it going and shit. Don't you see me? I'm the fairy tale. I'm the Huxtables. I'm everything that the TV set taught me how to be. Don't you want, motherfucker, why you ain't like me? You ain't the TV set. Get the fuck off my face. And see, that ain't working. That perfectionism shit gonna catch up with her, bartender.
Hi, I'm Mark Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and welcome to Treating Perfectionism, 3 Therapy Strategies, or how I helped Sandy beat the perfectionism that was ruining her life.
Yeah, Sandy, you had to get this. Sandy had to get her shit.
So Sandy sat there vacuuming any positivity.
Yeah, Karen sit there.
And she was, by her own admission,
trying to figure out why nobody else ain't a goddamn TV set.
Words, other people are so often stupid. So I sat across from her, really concentrating.
Hollywood ain't real.
Not being stupid. And I asked her, I said, do you ever feel
But God
you're
is.
stupid? Or is it just other people? Or is that a stupid question? Okay. And she said, no, I can be stupid, and I hate that even more because, you know, well,
Yeah, I could be stupid, but I hate that even more because now, you know, that's who I really blaming everybody. So what it is you don't know how to treat yourself. How you gonna know how to treat everybody else? All she doing is treating everybody like she's treating herself, right? Because she don't know how to get along with herself, right? She don't understand how to be humble. She's still on that perfectionist shit, thinking that, oh, I achieved this, I achieved that, I did this, I did that. And then she ain't never satisfied because it ain't about that. It's about learning how to appreciate how hard it was, what was the struggle. It ain't that damn simple, especially if somebody helped you get where the hell you going. It ain't that simple. And so if you don't appreciate the struggle, then you damn sure don't appreciate your ancestors. So you kind of like disconnected from God, because God is everybody, right? God is one big heart, and he one big family, and he ain't just you or a selfish one person. He everybody, all your ancestors. This is a built-up empire. This ain't something dynasty. This ain't something that just happened when you got born, you know. And that's what I think her paranoia and her identity crisis came from, bartender.
I know I'm bright
It's
and
coming
intelligent,
from.
so if I'm stupid, it's even worse. Okay, so this was the double violence she win. I asked for,
That's what
for an
it's all
example.
about. That's why I thought about this, because I was like saying, why am I judging myself for making mistakes that somebody else made, and now I'm a part of it.
Of her being stupid. And she said,
I'm
well, I
blaming
binge,
myself for
you know, not
trusting
so often
somebody.
now, but I waste money on food. I'm just going to
You know, blaming yourself for trusting somebody. That's one of the worst ones, ain't it? Blaming yourself for trusting somebody. That don't fall. That gotta go, bartender. That ain't no reason to be super paranoid or super stressed out, because that's something that you just gotta learn from and move on from, not be like all stuck on it and like on some kind of revenge trip.
up. And
I mean, unless it's that serious. Other than that, it's just some petty shit. A couple of bucks or something, or somebody lying to you, then that's too petty, man. You gotta learn from that. If you go fucking with somebody over that, you tripping. You ain't learned a damn thing. It's, leave them well enough alone. So, it's a whole bunch of motherfuckers out here who is mentally disabled, and they don't give a fuck, nigga. They taking you with them.
so stupid. Sandy had been binge eating off and on for
Ain't no reasoning with that. They ain't gonna listen.
25 years, and she
They just
felt
gonna react.
she had it under control now, mostly, but still did it sometimes. And her occasional all-or-nothing attitude to food carried over destructively to other parts of her life. Her mind was critical, and her stupidity radar was set to high. If someone says the wrong thing, that's it. I feel like I just don't want anything to do with them anymore, she said. Everybody gets one chance, and if they blow it, that's it.
Yeah, and that's what she do to herself all damn day, saying the wrong damn thing. She blowing it all day. She ain't learned to appreciate shit. Don't know how to share. Don't know how to ask God for help, to balance her ego and to deal with whatever her self-pity is, because it's causing all these fears and it's scaring her, and she feeling all alone and shit. Even though she all successful and got all these achievements, she still feel unappreciated because she don't appreciate her own self. Know what I mean, bartender? It starts with getting along with yourself, overcoming insecurity and paranoia and all these fairy tales that you was programmed. Now you gotta deprogram yourself to think for yourself. Nigga, stop thinking like a TV set, Karen, Sandy, or whoever you is. That's what I'm talking about. Get all them thoughts out your mind, downsize that off your plate, and start all over. Today we starting brand new. We starting all over, okay? We only just begun, but it's up to you. Think for yourself. You know the program, 12 steps of fear. It ain't the 12 steps of sobriety. The addiction ain't the drug. The addiction is phobias, fears that cause distress, and that's misconception, miseducation. That's just your mind ain't organized to see what's what you need to deal with. Focus on what matters and what don't matter. What it ain't. It's, and that's all a mental. That's all a mental education. That's a mental battle.
So in another life, you could have been a fascist dictator, I thought. But outwardly, I just looked at her and nodded encouragingly in the therapist's default setting way of nodding, as if she'd heard my thoughts. She then said, "People often find me intimidating." No kidding, again without actually speaking. Okay. That's what I'm thinking.
No
Though you
kidding.
might not immediately
Make you
turn
find yourself intimidating.
to Sandy for some
Last time you had a conversation with God anyway. You, nigga, God and you, the spirit.
friendly support, I could see
Uncommon
that she was a
sense.
tortured soul. Something needed to change. And in there, like a
Perfect
small,
soul.
fragile flame of flickering light
You're a perfect soul.
from a candle in a faraway...
I mean, your imperfect soul, because God ain't perfect. How he gonna teach you? How she gonna teach you anything? You run around here trying to be perfect. You ain't a good student. You still think you know every damn thing.
place. In the deepest of darkest nights was her
Yeah,
humanity.
you gotta educate yourself, but you gotta leave room on the plate for God advice too, and for your ancestors' advice too. You know, the people around you that you trust.
And I could see it, just about. It's lonely being perfect, especially when
It's lonely being perfect. It's lonely being perfect.
you're not. Sandy
Whether you're
was
perfect or
lonely.
not.
Other people irritated her, yes, but she also irritated herself even more. Friendship.
I told you. You say these people irritate me. Why? Because they don't. None of these niggas act like Dr. Doolittle, Dr. Seuss, Dr. Phil, or Dr. Oz. These niggas ain't a TV set. They irritate me. Because I can't be. Because I want to be the TV set, and I can't be the TV set either. But I'm tried.
And budding relationships
can't
had
get along with yourself.
evaporated over the years, usually because other people couldn't stand
Let's
the
make a
bite
deal.
of her constant judgment and unforgiving standards, and she couldn't stand them either. Or she quickly found people's imperfections not a sign of their humanity, but of their willful idiocy, and then she rejected them. But Sandy didn't come to see me because she wanted help with perfectionism. She was sick and tired of being alone. She wanted to feel less anxious and needed to finally
Connected to herself, to God, and to her ancestors. I know God's heart. I understand. Cups up, bartender.
escape her occasional
The real great escape, the supernatural escape, supernatural high, to get high off reality, off self-education, self-trust, and reincarnation, and have a family reunion with our ancestors in the spirit. God's heart, bartender.
bulimic pattern
I love you
once
too,
and for all.
Mother G.
She needed people, but she pushed people away. She was borderline depressed much of the time, pessimistic, cynical, and unfulfilled in her career as a book illustrator. What's wrong with having high standards? Being solution-focused and driven can have us achieving wonderful things, of course, in life. But for Sandy and many others, this approach gets so over-applied that it actually starts to block achievement and enjoyment of life. Sandy had always learned fast.
The quality of life, or the quality of a relationship with yourself and God, and balancing your ego and regulating your stress.
But while still a child, had ripped up her music sheets when her piano practice didn't go as she'd planned. Even though she'd shown great promise and been the best in her class, she decided piano was not for her and never went back to it. This wasn't so strange. It was perfectly in line with the family ideology. Her parents valued achievement above all else and being the best at everything. If you weren't the best, move on. There was no point in doing it. And they passed these attitudes on to their children, including Sandy. Nowadays, she struggled to scrape by with occasional illustration commissions, but still would sometimes destroy an illustration she'd been working on for reasons other people probably couldn't even see, in her words. And she said, "My life has been full of false starts. If something's wrong or doesn't fit how I think it should be, I tend to give up on it immediately. I've had so many opportunities I should have pursued. I've stopped even trying to do stuff I feel may be hard or that I won't be good at." Okay, that's what she told me.
The false start was when you still trapped in all of the expectations from a miseducation, which is either your public school textbooks or your TV set. So I mean, you're gonna have to start with reprogramming yourself from the miseducation and all that propaganda. So what is the false start? First, you got to figure out that you know where you at. Well, you know, nigga, just because they say it's America don't mean it is. You know, and then if all the history books is fake and all this other stuff is fake, I mean, you just watching yourself on TV be fake. And then when you wake up, you can be an alien, like the Jetsons. In the time of the Jetsons, with all this technology, you ain't gonna be ready, because you don't know who you is. You know what I mean? You still thinking that being a robot or buying a car or getting $1 or buying some gimmicks and gadgets and a phone is gonna make you appreciate life or be you know, satisfied and be able to deal, and that's gonna be your stress relief. You getting more money, you buying another house, you buying another car. That's your stress relief. But sooner or later, that's gonna play out, because like they said, more money, more stress. So you gotta deal with the stress first. Then, I mean, you can have money. I ain't saying you got nothing about money. I'm talking about the bottom line is that to have a foundation and to be stable, you gotta deal with what comes first, your priorities. Dealing with how to relieve stress and how to balance your ego and how to balance stress. Other than that, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a growth fall. All the king horses and all the queen's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Sandy needed, of course, to relax her standing.
Because Humpty didn't know A, B, C, D, E. He didn't start with priorities. What came first, nigga? Safety first. Self-motherfucking protection. Self-preservation.
She could achieve more because perfectionism
that nigga went
was ruining.
On a wild goose chase, chasing all them fairy tales on the TV set and got lost in space.
Her life.
Like Alice in Wonderland.
The tyranny of perfectionism. Researchers have found evidence that perfectionism may be linked to the onset of eating disorders, such as bulimia and anorexia. See reference 1 and 2. And I suspect that the extremist and emotional thinking of maladaptive perfectionism can also contribute to the onset and maintenance of some depressions. Depressive thinking tends to be all or nothing, absolutist, or black and white, extremist, and pretty unforgiving, especially of the self. I worked long and hard with Sandy, hypnotically seeking to unhook the residual bulimic trance that still caught her out sometimes.
Yeah, but she had to put herself in her own trance. She had to learn to do what you teaching her to do. So if she ain't listening and paying attention to what you telling her, then she ain't gonna be able to hypnotize herself. She ain't gonna be able to put herself in no trance. She ain't gonna be able to do none of that. I mean, I ain't saying that you can't smoke a joint or take a drink and help the no, I don't think drinking help it, but I mean, I'm just saying, you don't even have to hit a joint, because that's for professionals. You first got to have a clear mind and deal with that first. You ain't ready to go to the next level. Be talking about, let me get some, I need a crutch and I need some ace bandages to go with my hypnotism to help me, to motivate me to this trance and make it a little bit less boring. No, you might have to be bored at the beginning.
And to improve her stress management generally in life. We also looked at building her social and relationship skills, and I used metaphor with her to develop an appreciation of other people above and beyond what they were good at.
No shortcuts.
We looked at the
Dr. Baby Steps.
inherent value of things. So here are 3 ways I helped her, Sandy, go from extremist intolerant to fair and humane in her attitude to herself and other people. So firstly, you can
you know that's a mission impossible. When they got all these signs talking about no talking to the animals at the bus station.
Describe the pattern. Sandy is an
analytical
thinker and likes to know why she's even
Sandy
thinking about
got carried
something.
Away.
So I described
she don't even talk to herself.
Conditioning personality, inflexible thought,
thinking,
drive, strong emotion.
I know, Doc, but what about talking to myself? Shit, you better learn.
After all, Hitler didn't tend to talk in shades of grey at the Nuremberg rallies. I told her about Dr. Martin Seligman's research on how learning to challenge all or nothing thinking helped children who were at risk of becoming depressed Avoid.
Damn, but anybody can get caught in an all or nothing situation. Sometimes you be thinking like somebody might do some petty shit to you, right? It ain't no big $1 billion shit, some little $20, $30 shit. And you thinking, well, this ain't shit. You gonna lose customers if you burn me. No, they ain't thinking like that. They thinking that what right now. They ain't thinking about the future. They thinking about the now. So you gotta forget them type of people because they just thinking about the now. So how you gonna communicate with anybody like that? Them motherfuckers, they don't give a fuck. They ain't thinking about consequences. So they gonna burn. They burnt all their bridges, even with you. So then all you did was learn that I can't trust you. You burnt your bridge.
Avoid depression. See reference 3. I also asked Sandy to imagine a world in which no mistakes were ever made. Everything was always done entirely correctly and skills were picked up instantly by everybody. She hypnotically envisaged this perfect world for half an hour. And when I asked her what it felt like, she said, "It's cold. There's no humour or fun. No satisfaction from having overcome adversity or challenge. It's hell," she said. Chronic perfectionism is always a case of under-perceiving reality, what's been called straight-line thinking. So we needed to deal with this. 2, encourage a wider context. If we consider experiences in too narrow a context, we miss much of the fine detail of life. For example, playing a friendly game with relatives at Christmas or some other get-together is a chance to have fun, be creative, laugh, and bond with significant people in your life.
We do it every day, boy.
A chance to help other people feel good when they win. A way of communicating with loved ones. An opportunity to be creatively stretched, regardless of who wins. But a chronic perfectionist may miss all these wider contextual elements of playing a game. So when I asked Sandy what the point of a competition, any competition was, she immediately replied, well, to win, of course. It was a genuine revelation for her when we explored other possible purposes or byproducts of a competition and how she was intrigued to read new ideas on kitextia or context blindness. She'd always thought, what's the point of going for a walk? Unless it was to get exercise or actually get someplace. What's the point? Was her standard response to any idea or suggestion, as if everything could be whittled down to one thing. What's the pointism is often a sign that someone's thinking is too...
That sounds like some self-defeatism shit. Like, she ain't never satisfied, even if she is, get what she want. You know what I mean? Even if she achieve what she wants, she still can't appreciate it. She still need more and more self-validation from the outside. She ain't getting her validation from the inside. It look like she's getting all that her validation from the outside. And that's a big problem, bartender. Because the inside is where the answers is at, where the Spirit of God is at, where the Spirit of self-education is at, where the inspiration to be humble and overcome self-pity and balance the ego is at. So she ain't getting none of them nourishments, man. She's starving to death, bartender. Starvation. Spiritual, self-trust, self-liberation, starvation. And fake for your nation.
Straight line. Overcoming perfectionism sharpens perception and makes it more flexible and context-aware, while also increasing humanity to oneself and other people. 3, encourage downtime. All or nothing, black and white, extremist, perfectionistic thinking is depressing. It's tiring to be on such high alert all the time, with perfectionism producing high levels of emotion and churned up feelings. And life can feel meaningless unless it's results driven. So even the time after a successful endeavor can feel depressing to the perfectionist. Any free time isn't valued or tolerated very well in this repressive psychological regime. Sandy's life, if we saw it as a landscape, would have been full of sharp edges and sudden precipitous drops with towering mountain peaks. What she needed was a few places of respite, some oasis, some comfortable flat bits on which to rest and not feel like she'd been running ultramarathons.
She acting like everything is easy and fucking and tailor-made. She tripped.
I told Sandy that I wanted her to succeed at failing. I talked about humanity to her.
She too fucking sensitive. She oversensitive, overprotective, over paranoid, over perfect, over every goddamn thing. She over everything except over liberated. Because if she was over liberated, she'd be in touch with her own motherfucking spirit and ancestors. This is under liberated. She, like I said, she need validation for everything from the outside except, and ain't shit coming from the inside.
I talked about being human and humane, and how becoming comfortable with failure is the first step to success, social or any other kind. She needed downtime from having to be seen as perfect by other people and the best all the time. So I asked her to meet up with a friend she hadn't seen for a while, a woman who'd stayed friendly across the years.
Self-honesty, a time out. She ain't taking the time out to be honest with herself. Then she can appreciate, because she got to learn how to share. And if she don't learn how to share, she's going to stay isolated.
And she was to tell this friend a story of how she, Sandy, had failed in some small way. This was her task. And at the next session, Sandy told me that she'd actually done this, because after all, she liked to do what she said she would do. And she'd met up with this friend and told her how she, Sandy, had joined Mensa a few years ago and had arrived a day early to their first social event. And at the time, Sandy had been mortified, but while telling her friend about this episode, something weird suddenly began to happen. Sandy relaxed, and they both laughed at the irony. Mensa, the high-performing people, she'd arrived a day early. In the end, we were both crying with laughter, and it was wonderful, she said. And you know, she said, I had to carry out your task, Mark, because if I hadn't admitted to a failure, I would have failed the task. So this is a classic therapeutic double bind. I kept asking Sandy to make small mistakes and practice laughing about them and tell other people about them later. And I showed her some research that showed that people like you more when they see you make small mistakes. And of course, people did seem to like her more as they found that they could relax with her, but she was human. She didn't make them feel bad by comparison. She got more work. She started another business and was, in her words, prepared to happily fail. And she eventually found someone to love and to be loved by. So the distant, fragile candle flame became a beam of sunny warmth as the real Sandy released herself from the self-imposed repressive regime and into the light of day. So I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to hear when my next video is published, hit the notification bell below. I'm Mark Turrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and if you'd like to subscribe to my email newsletter, you can find it over at unk.com, and that's unk.com/blog. And thanks for watching.
For fair use and educational purposes, bartended December the 5th, 2021. See, this is the problem. Forming stereotypes on what success is based on someone else's theories or miseducation or advertisement on what they say success is. You know what I mean? Because they like, this is like somebody saying, when you in school, you're going to be a doctor, a nurse, a fireman, a lawyer, a policeman. You know, you don't know what the fuck you going to be. You don't know what you good at. They gotta have a testing thing. And them schools, they need to have aptitude tests so people can be placed in what they good at. Instead of just putting them letting them people watch TV and say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And you might not even be good at doing that. See what I'm saying? So that's the problem with this perfectionism trap and that TV set and all of this, like everybody following the Joneses. No, you gotta figure out what you good at. You can't be following what the TV set is good at or the Joneses is good at. Don't let the Joneses get you down. You ever heard that? That's where we at right now, perfectionism. Don't let the fake perfectionism and that stress program get you down, because this is all about the 12 steps of stress relief and overcoming fear and phobias. Fear of self, the fear of thinking for self, and egophobia and fake egophobia.
By the exploits of the most accomplished practitioners in the field, We formulate our ambitions by admiring the beautiful structures of the architect tasked with designing the city's new airport,
Yeah, the
or by
architect.
following
We
the
want to be the
intricate trades
architect.
of the
NBA
wealthiest Wall
basketball
Street
star, the
fund manager,
NFL.
or reading the analyses of the acclaimed literary
Bruce
novelist,
Ivy.
or sampling the piquant meals in the
Phil
restaurant
Ivy.
of the prize-winning chef. We form our career plans on the basis of
Danny
perfection.
Glover. Yeah, I
Then,
know.
inspired by the masters, we take our own first steps, and the trouble begins. What we have managed to design or make in our first month of trading, or write in an early short story, or cook for the family, is markedly and absurdly beneath the standard that first sparked our ambitions.
Muhammad Ali.
We, who are so aware of excellence,
Muhammad
are the
Ali.
least able to
Yeah,
tolerate
fuck, see what I'm
mediocrity,
saying? How the fuck
which
you
in
gonna
this
be?
case...
How the fuck? See, this hero shit gotta go. This hero worship. That's basically another thing they talking about. This like hero worship. Oh, I'm gonna go be Muhammad Ali. I'm gonna be all this. Every nigga, it ain't even enough room. It ain't enough. It's too many people to even fit into them leagues. Everybody can't be Muhammad Ali or be Steph Curry or be, you know, whoever else is the top athlete in their field. That shit is played out, man. That shit is sold up. That shit is overpopulated. Man, come on. You got to be something realistic. And the way overpopulation is going is getting rougher every day. Because they're just importing new motherfucking dream catchers to this place every day.
Happens to be our own. We
Dream
become stuck in an
stalkers.
uncomfortable paradox. Our ambitions have been ignited by greatness.
Dream zombies. Every day we're programming a new dream. A zombie with a new dream every day, bartender. The American dream. Program, deprogram, reprogram.
But everything we know of ourselves
Star
points
Child.
to congenital ineptitude. We have fallen into what
Star
we can
Child.
term the perfectionist trap, defined as a powerful attraction to perfection, shorn of any
That's
mature
right.
or sufficient understanding of what is actually...
The all or nothing trap. Anything less won't do. If I can't have it all, I don't want shit. Oh, okay. That sound like suicide run to me, buddy.
required to
Sound like you don't know how to gamble, but you at the casino. I don't know why.
attain it. It is
You're already rich. Better stay out the casino.
primarily our
Unless
fault.
you know when to hold them, when to fold them, and when to fucking that you already lost. You don't want to lose no more. But you can keep losing until you learn to stop betting.
Without in any way revealing this,
Or just stay out the casino.
or even perhaps being aware of it, our media edits out billions of unremarkable lives
You have learned, grasshopper.
and years of failure, rejection and frustration, even in those who
Self-acceptance.
do achieve, in order to serve us up a daily curated selection of peak career moments, which thereby end up seeming not like the violent exceptions they actually are, but like a norm and baseline of achievement. It starts to appear as though everyone is successful, because all those who we happen to hear about really are successes, and we have forgotten to imagine the oceans of tears and despair that necessarily surround them. Our perspective is imbalanced because we know our own struggles so well from the inside, and yet are exposed to apparently pain-free narratives of achievement on the outside. We cannot forgive ourselves the horrors of our early drafts, largely because we have not seen the early drafts of those we admire. We need a saner picture of how many difficulties lie behind everything we would wish to emulate. We should not look, for example, at the masterpieces of art in a museum. We should go to the studio and there see the anguish, wrecked early versions and watermarks on the paper where the artists broke down and wept. We should focus on how long it took the architect before they received their first proper commission. They were over 50. We need to dig out the early stories of the writer who now wins prizes and examine more closely how many failures the entrepreneur had to endure. We need to recognize the legitimate and necessary role of failure, allow ourselves to do things quite imperfectly for a very long time, as a price we cannot avoid paying for an opportunity one day, perhaps in many decades, to do something that others will consider a spontaneous success.
Spontaneous success. self-rehabilitation, self-reincarnation from fake freedom nation. Failures in educational purposes. And in case anybody out there complaining about soap and water, just remember, it could have been worse.
Factsverse presents 13 examples of hygiene habits during the Wild West. Living in the Wild West wasn't easy. Men and women traveled across North America and struggled with harsh weather and rough terrain. Because traveling was difficult,
with no
and
showers and all that.
Water, many people walked
Them
around
conveniences.
It wasn't just the
wasn't no
bathing schedules
conveniences.
that made the Wild West a pretty nasty
You
time
had
to
to
live, though. Here are
struggle
13 examples of hygiene
and
habits
appreciate
during the Wild West. Before we jump
adventure.
into the video, jump down to the comments
You had to
yourself and
struggle.
let us know if you could live in the Wild
Appreciate
West.
the
Would you do
adventure.
it? Also, be sure to subscribe
Sink or
and
swim,
hit the notification
bartender.
bell so you don't miss our
Sink
future
or
videos.
swim.
During the Wild West, many beds were made of straw and hay.
Hell
This
yeah.
would often lead them to becoming infested with what was known then as seam spores, and what we know today as lice. If the bed was set up in a poorly insulated building, people also had to worry about mosquitoes being attracted to human
no comfort zone.
waste in the house. A woman who visited the Wild West from 1883 to 1888, Rose Pender, recalled trying to sleep one night, but because there were so many bugs, she got very little rest. Also,
Yeah, she was frustrated. Can you imagine her stress level?
people didn't have screens on their windows back then.
From
and
when
that meant
3 to
bugs would
10,
travel
what
back and
was it?
forth from the home to the outhouse and back again.
Uh-oh.
This was a very unhygienic and unsanitary way
You got to go to the outhouse in the snow and the rain.
to live. While some people in the Wild West went to the woods to relieve themselves, many had an outhouse. Outhouses were built close to the home to make going to the bathroom safe and convenient.
Convenient.
Inside the outhouse, families would dig a hole, and when the hole was full, the family would cover it up and then dig another hole. This often would mean moving the outhouse from time to time. The outhouse, of course, smelled horrible, and many people would try to mask the odor with lime or lye. Flies and black widow spiders would make the outhouse their home and would often bite while a person was trying to use the bathroom.
You trying to think of number 2, a crappity crap, and here comes the Black Widow talking about, I've been waiting on your ass. No wonder they made that movie. Little Miss Muffet sat by Tuffet.
Because toilet paper was not available back then, people would use leaves, corn cobs, or grass. It was
Hell no, leaves, corn, cobs, and grass. This is the problem, the Wild Wild West. I guess we're on our way back to Wild Wild Bambimic.
just a messy situation all around. Water was essential for the people of the Wild West just to survive, but it was also hard to find. If a house located upstream built an outhouse, the waste would contaminate the clean water nearby. Stagnant water, however, attracted flies and other insects, and these bugs would leave behind excrement and waste, so that water wasn't safe to drink either. The people would try and collect rainwater in cisterns. That would keep the water clean until dust and other contaminants got mixed into it. People tried to conserve water by not washing the dishes, not washing their clothing, or washing their clothing in their dirty bath water. Families would often bathe only once a week, and they would all share the same bath water when doing so. A man named Frank Clifford wrote about his time in the American West. He was an associate of Billy the Kid, and he described having his hair washed with soap weed made by a Mexican woman. She'd make the shampoo from a yucca plant, and after she washed his hair, it'd be soft, clean, and lustrous. People would often make their own soap out of animal fat. They also used this fat to make candles. The soap was harsh, and it was also used for the candles. It caused skin irritation. Many people would avoid using soap because they believed that being too clean would actually open their pores to germs and other diseases. People in the American West thought that it was healthier not to bathe very often. That made for some very smelly people, especially during the hot summer months. In the Wild West, toothbrushes,
How you like your chicken?
toothpaste, and dental floss didn't exist. If a person got a cavity or if a tooth rotted, it would just be pulled out. Since they didn't have modern dentistry back then, people had to visit the barber or a blacksmith in order to get the tooth removed.
You keep going to the barber shop, you're bound to get your teeth pulled, bartender.
Patients were given whiskey to take a little bit of the edge off, and tools that resembled pliers were used to pull the tooth. In an effort to keep their teeth healthy, people would visit
Barber was the dentist back in the day.
stagecoach stop-offs and public establishments where they could use a community toothbrush. Yes, a community toothbrush.
Oh,
They also
hell
picked
no.
food out of their teeth with knives.
Apple.
Saloons in the Wild West
Apples
didn't
to
have
keep your
stools
teeth
like we
clean.
envision them. They did have rails on the bottom to lean on them. They also had spittoons. Along the top of the bar, there was either an additional rail or a series of hooks. These were installed to hold towels that men would use to wipe the beer foam from their mouths.
They didn't have dental floss, they used them apples.
When patrons would use these towels, it would often spread germs and diseases because the towels weren't replaced. Dust was a widespread problem in the Wild West. Dust storms and heavy winds would often pick up dust.
Public school, public restroom, it's all the same thing. The janitor always come up missing, bartender. Always.
And send large clouds into the air and into homes. Not only was the dust threatening to the settlers, but also their cattle. Sarah Atherton described her journey to the American West. She traveled with her husband Jed and their children, and she says that there was dust everywhere. Her eyes burned terribly. Sarah Raymond Herndon traveled from Missouri to Montana Territory during the late 1860s.
Dusty.
She described her journey saying that the dust was so bad that it was almost knee-deep in places. She says that when the group stopped for
How
the
you gonna
night,
name
the
your
boys'
kids
faces
Dusty?
were covered with dust. She added the dust filled their noses and their eyes, and it took plenty of water to get their faces clean.
They do it.
There were saloons all over the western frontier, and they all had spittoons
There must
and
be a lot of
cuspidors
dust
in the
in
front
that
of the
house.
bar. Men who chewed tobacco would often spit, and it would end up on the floor. The spit would be covered sometimes with sawdust, which caused people to come down with pneumonia and tuberculosis. This became a significant issue for those who rented the floors of saloons to camp for the night. Many would sleep on the floors that were covered with germs and bacteria. To prevent these serious diseases, many places banned spitting altogether. For example, if you were caught spitting on the train platforms or in the train stations, it was punishable with a $500 fine,
Uh-oh.
a year in prison, or both. That was a lot of money back then. Laundry,
That was a lot of money back then.
plumbing, and dishwashing would often take place in the water that was used for drinking. And that made it really common for the diseases to spread through camps and settlements. During the 19th century, a group of Mormon migrants came down with cholera, and they saw it as a punishment from God. The disease also wiped out a large number of Native Americans. While this was a widespread condition,
That's terrible. I can't handle it, boy. I'm about to throw up.
it didn't claim as many native lives as smallpox did.
Oh,
Back then,
hell
having no diseases in a camp was unheard of. It was
I
actually
don't give a fuck. How the fuck you gonna wash your clothes and then drink the same water? That don't even make no sense. This don't make sense. Is they lying to me? I mean, come on, man. That don't make sense. Why the fuck would I wash my clothes in some water and then drink the same water? That don't make no sense.
a miracle.
I don't think that don't taste like Kool-Aid.
People were dying due to cholera
I'm
and
trying
smallpox.
to figure
All
out,
that-
is the history books really that accurate? Or was the people just that motherfucking just retarded or what?
due with poor hygiene and dirty water.
They making the people sound retarded to me, y'all. They making them sound retarded as hell. Why wouldn't you go get you a little bucket or go get you whatever,
No, Beyonce.
wash your motherfucking clothes
Join the
in
channel
that
to help your favorite creator.
instead of contaminating the whole motherfucking river or some shit like that? You know what I mean? Wherever you at. I don't understand that. That's crazy. But if they did it, they did it. Ain't nothing I can do.
Create more. Plus, you'll unlock
change
members
it.
only stuff like a chance to play together. Who knows? It's up to them and you. Join the channel, give perks, and show the love.
People used whiskey for a number of things in the Wild West. They used it to disinfect and for pain relief.
Yeah, that's what I'm about
They
to say. Why they use that shit to wash their clothes? Fuck all that fucking up the water.
also used it to wash their hair. People in the Wild West, they'd combine whiskey, castor oil, and lavender. After washing their hair, the people would wash it out with rainwater or with water softened with borax. When women would wash their hair, they often combed it thoroughly and then curled their hair using heated pencils. Cowboys, soldiers, and other men